everybody, and welcome to the Learning from Our Mistakes podcast.
Yeah, so look, sorry the last 2 weeks we didn't record. We were on vacation.
Yep,
I will
yep.
note, though, that the other podcast of which I'm a part of, the Cats in the Cradle podcast, they were able to keep going during this vacation stint, so just saying.
Embarrassing. We have different priorities, I
We
guess.
do, we do. Let's dive into it. I know you have a bunch of questions. I know this is our second episode in a series that we're doing. Before we begin, I just have a question for you. Is your life easy? Is your life hard?
I feel like there's times where it feels easy and times where it feels hard. But I also think that that's a lot about my perspective on things. Like this past week felt like it was really hard. Just because Eliza's been testing lots of boundaries lately, but it's like a different type of hard than when she was just born. That's like a sleep deprived hard where it feels like you're barely surviving. And this is like, what am I doing wrong kind of hard?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And then there's times too where she acts crazy and she's like testing the boundaries. And I'm like, whatever, this is not bugging me at all. So, like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think my life is hard in the sense of, like, I need to go fetch my water every single day, but maybe
Yeah.
I do now because I no longer have water in my apartment. But,
Yeah.
um, like, comparatively speaking, my life is easy.
All right, so I want you to fill in the blank on this question, which is my life will be easier when.
I feel like it'll be easier when we move back to Las Vegas. My
Okay.
life will be easier then. It'll
Okay.
have lots of more help around us
Yeah,
sometimes.
and along with that
Yeah.
comes different stories of drama. I mean, there's just
Yep.
it's funny. I can't remember why I was thinking about this, but I was at church. I think this is why I was at church today, and this guy was talking about he came home from a mission. He was in Africa, and he was talking about just you wouldn't have power and electricity and water and I was just thinking like, man, is like how that would be hard. Like, like you're dealing with this short term. Okay, I'm not gonna have water maybe for tonight, maybe for some tomorrow. Like it's obviously annoying, and I don't want to
Yeah.
downplay it. But imagine if that is almost every day of your life,
Yeah.
and but then I was also thinking like as I was kind of contemplating these questions of like I remember vividly thinking like, oh, I can't remember. I can't wait for Aubrey to be out of diapers because we're going to have so much more money. Or I had a job. My first job out of college, I was making $32,000 a year. And I remember I got a new job where I got a raise to $38,000. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have so much money. And then I remember thinking like, if I could be making $52,000 a year, like $1,000 a week, like we would be so rich. And what part of life it just goes along and more challenges come, kids get older, new expenses come about, bigger house or whatever. But I think like the question of like my life will be easy when I think it's your life becomes easy when you decide it's easy. Like it's an attitude, it's a mindset. And I love what you said. It says, well, it kind of depends. Like sometimes you're really frustrated with Eliza, but sometimes she's doing the same things and you're not frustrated. And so I think the common denominator is you and how you react.
Yep, exactly. And, like, there's times where I could just tell, like, I wake up and I feel way more short-tempered than other days, and I'm like, "I feel like I'm doing the same things, but here we are." It's
Yeah.
super annoying.
Well, I know for me, like there's some days I come home from work and well, it was a stressful day at work or whatever it was, and Renee can
Yeah.
just tell, like, "Dude, you need to take a chill pill." And I'm just, like, frustrated because like, the house is a mess, and the boys are just screwing around, like, playing their video games, not doing anything, and so I'm just, like, on red, I'm, like, slamming stuff on the counter, or I'm like, "Hey, get down here, clean this up, take the trash out," like but, like, that's the me problem, right? I'm the
Yeah.
problem in the situation. Like, I could handle that exact same situation the next day where I just say, "Hey, when you boys get a second, can you take the trash out, or and could you put the dishes away, or could
Yeah.
you" like and so the irritation is me, and so sometimes for me, it's like stress, I've been eating too much sugar, I didn't get a good night's rest, it could be a lot of those a combination of many of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I feel like when you're talking about that, my first thoughts, like, goes to the diet of, okay, the night before did I eat something late at night, and was it sweet? I feel like every time I eat something sweet, I wake up the next morning in such a terrible attitude. That and then, like, when I eat like, certain foods, I just super annoying, but it
Yep.
happens. So
It's funny, like, the sugar effect is it's palpable, and until you put one and one together, like, I guess, this might be a good segue into what we're talking about today, but when Renee, through some whatever education she was doing, we kinda started putting one and one together of, like, when you guys eat a lot of sugar, you misbehave significantly more. That was eye-opening for us as far as, like, how we parent, because we would know, like, okay, they're going to a party, they're gonna have a lot of this cake. Just be ready, there's probably gonna be a meltdown later in the day. And then sure
yeah.
enough, it would happen, and we could mentally prepare for it, like, okay, she's gonna have a meltdown, but let's just roll with it because we can be in control even though she may be out of control.
Yeah, this is also I just had this thought too, but I feel like too, my kids will misbehave for sugar, if that makes sense. Like they see like Eliza, yesterday I had my birthday cake sitting on the counter and she knows that she's not supposed to go on the counter and grab things, but she goes and takes a huge chunk out of the cake. But it's interesting because like usually she knows, okay, there's food sitting on the counter. I'm not going to do that. But because she knows
Cake.
that it's, like, something sweet and sugary and she loves cake, then she's gonna go and act out more for it, which is also kind of interesting, so,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
think
know.
about the dopamine, the reward pleasure center.
Yeah.
If you had a
Yeah.
salad up there, the reward center is not gonna activate as the same as if it was
Yeah.
a cookie or a cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
quite
think
interesting.
of it like drugs or alcohol, right? I mean, if it's a drug that you're
Literally,
addicted to, and sugar is a drug that we become addicted to, then yeah, that's one of those things where all of a sudden you're like, yeah,
no limit. Yeah.
I will kill somebody so I can get the heroin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking from personal experience. Just
Yes,
joking.
we all know.
Just disclaimer, that was a joke, a bad one.
That's funny. So kind of segueing into episode 2 of our series, we're gonna be focusing on parenting, and different advice and mistakes that we've made in that realm. But I guess to start out, what is piece of parenting advice that turned out to be completely wrong that you've heard?
Yeah, so that Renee and I were talking about some of this stuff earlier today, and I don't have necessarily really good answers for a lot of these questions. And so even the boys and I, we were talking about we were driving from my mom's house
Mhm.
today, and oddly enough, Jonathan said, "No, actually, there's some things you guys done to make me mad, but for the most part, I think you guys have been pretty good parents." Coming from a 15-year-old teenager, like I'll take that. That's a victory.
High praise, yep.
Yeah. And I will also say it's parenting is so challenging because you don't know that what you did or what you're doing right now is going to be wrong until maybe a decade or more later. And so that can be challenging. As far as like parenting advice that was just way wrong, I I don't know. I mean, some of the things like I know one of the subsequent questions is what do you wish you would have done more of? And
Mhm.
I think the answer I'll give is it's a one we did really well with, and the other one I wish we would have done more of it was reading to you kids. I know mom was amazing. She did a great job of reading to you and to Aubrey. David kinda got some of that, but by the time we had, like, Jonathan and Ralph, like, the stuff that you guys were reading was not gonna captivate their attention, and
Yeah.
the time we were spending on the older kids wasn't enough. So I wish we probably should have fallen on me more at that point. I wish that I would have sat with those boys and read more. Now, like every night we would like sit down and read books, like the kids' books, like Cat in the Hat or whatever. I wouldn't say Where's Waldo's really reading books, but we
I
did that
know,
too.
that's what came to my mind too.
But like Chica Chica Boom Boom and the those Eric Carle books and stuff like that. Like we did all that stuff. The Goodnight Moon. But like mom would read those fairy books to you or the Junie B.
Mhm.
Jones or even like she read Bridge to Terabithia. In fact, I think I was reading Bridge to Terabithia. That
Yeah.
might have been the last book I read to you guys because like I'm all crying. I look over and you guys were
Yeah.
like, "Why is
We're like,
Dad
"What's going
crying?
on with this guy?"
Is my dad a wimp?"
Yeah.
But I remember I threw the book and stormed out of there because nobody else was sad that this girl just died. But
Yeah.
spoiler alert.
Oops.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like for me, I mean, obviously I'm new to this whole parenting game, but a lot of the time, a lot of information that I get about parenting comes from social media. And there's so many things of like, oh, you have to do it this way. This is the only way to potty train. This is the only way to do X, Y, and Z. And what I've learned is that you can do all of these things and your kids are going to turn out relatively similar. Like, I think that there's different ways to discipline, which can create different outcomes in the way that your children behaves. But I feel like for the most part that there's so much like, this is the only way, like, do stop what you're doing and do this now. And like, I remember when I was about to have Eliza, I was like I had a whole entire like saved um file or whatever on Instagram where I would save all of these things to, and I literally have never looked at any of them. And it's just like interesting of like, I don't know, you get this mindset of like, oh, I this person did this, so I have to do this, this, and this. But there's so many different ways to parent and your kids are gonna turn out okay, you know? Like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, something I would add to that, so, like, obviously, I grew up in a different age than you did where I didn't have Instagram and all that stuff, but what I would do is I would find mentors. I
Mhm.
would look at families and I'm like, "Okay, I like how that family's turning out." And I would go up to the mom or the dad, and usually the dad, and I'd say like, "Hey, can I go to lunch with you? I wanna talk to you about, like, what you're doing, and I wanna
Yeah.
understand your tax and how are you handling life." And and I've done that with a number of individuals, and sometimes I've even done it with individuals that I don't necessarily like respect, but I've also asked like I want to know like what are they doing so I can not do some of that
Not
stuff.
do that.
But it's interesting. Like I think as parents, like as you're going through things, like, it literally I think we're just grasping for
Yeah.
solutions, and there's not like you have two kids, they're not the same. Right? And
Yep.
so what works for Liza isn't gonna work for Joshua. What works for you didn't work for Aubrey. And so that's where it can be tough is that you don't come with a owner's manual. And even when they're young, like what works last week may not work next week. And
Mhm.
so that's where like you really have to be thoughtful. I would add prayerful to parenting techniques and what you're doing. And kind of what we were just talking about, like you need to make sure that you are on your game because if you're not feeling mentally and physically healthy, that's going to come out in your lack of patience.
For sure, for sure. And then similarly, what are things that you guys obsessed over that didn't really matter?
Um, so the one thing I was talking to mom about this today, and she said trying to be on time all the time,
Mhm.
because you know how hard it can be to get out of the door. You
Yep.
got two kids in diapers, and, like, the moment you're ready to leave, one of them poops their pants, and it's a blowout, and you're like, "Great, now we gotta start over again." And, what I said to her, I said, there's certain times that you do have to be on time. Like, if you have a
Mhm.
doctor's appointment or, like, if you're going to certain appointments, like, you need to you can't just show up 30 minutes late and be like, "Well, I have 2 kids, deal with it." But it's also like we would go to I don't know if you remember, we used to do like family dinners on both sides of the family pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And your Aunt Megan, like they would always show up like an hour late.
Yeah.
And we would try to be on time, but sometimes we're running late too. And it's like, don't stress out about it. Like it's gonna be okay. If you have a date at the park, like yeah, we're running about 15, 20 minutes late. Like, why be
Not that big of
stressed
a
about
deal. Yep.
it's not that big of a deal. Like it's you know, one thing I would say I stress about that I think is carries the weight of it, the importance of it, is the use of social media and screens with kids. Like, we were just talking tonight, I have certain rules of things that you need to do in order to get social media in our house, and, like, Ralph and Jonathan are trying to negotiate it down, and I'm like, there's a bar, and
Non-negotiable. Yep.
the bar if anything, the bar gets raised, it doesn't get lowered.
Yeah.
Um, And that's like, if you don't like it, then just, like, turn 18 and move out of the house, and you can have social media,
Yeah.
which I would prefer that, actually, I would prefer that. So that's one thing I would say that I stress about that is important. Maybe timeliness, to me, it's not as important, depending on what the event is. Like, to me, showing up to church is important to be there on time, but it's also how you prepare for it throughout the week.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do what you can to be on time, but it's like not who cares? I when I was thinking about this question, um, I and obviously I'm in a different stage of parenting. You have grown kids and my kids are little babies, but when I was when Eliza was first born, I was super gung ho and I'm only going to breastfeed Eliza. That was so important to me. And when she was 4 months old, so I was 4 months postpartum, I got pregnant with Joshua. And when that happened, my supply completely dropped and I had no idea. And and Eliza, she was such a complacent baby, like, she would cry, I would feed her, she wouldn't cry anymore, and 2 hours later, she'd cry again, and so I had no idea that she wasn't getting enough food and any of these things, and till we went to the pediatrician and, they weighed her, and they're like, your baby
Yeah.
lost weight? That never happens, I've never seen that before." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the worst parent in the world. Why am I not like these people are always allowed able to breastfeed. Why can't I?" And so it's super frustrating. And like, obviously, it's good to have goals, but I was like super obsessed with it where I was like, I'm not going to get formula. I would never get formula. But at the end of the day, what is most important is that you have a healthy and strong and fed baby. And so I mean, it was over within I had my pediatrician appointment on a Friday evening, and then, like, the next day we had formula, or even probably that night, Brandon went to go get formula from the store, and, like, it was just it's so funny how, like, all of a sudden your mindset on these things can change, but for me, I was like, "I'm never doing this," and then all of a sudden I'm like, "I'm such an idiot." Like, if that's what my baby needs, that's what my baby's gonna get. And so
Yeah.
for me, that was one of the biggest things of like trying that was something that I was super like trying to do. And then when I had Joshua, my supply kind of ebbed and flowed. And so like right from the bat, I was like, okay, well, we're gonna get formula. That's okay. I don't even care. Like that's what he needs. And so just kind of interesting. But
Yeah, because I mean, there's plenty of studies that show the importance and significance of nursing and breastfeeding and how, like, if your baby starts getting sick, like, your milk reacts accordingly, like, it's
it's
fascinating.
so cool. Yeah.
It's super cool, and so, to me but then again, sometimes there's not enough supply, and that's where it's okay to supplement with the formula. One thing that you guys and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you guys buy a lot of baby food, am I right?
No, we hardly ever buy baby food. Like, we'll buy they have, like, those little it's like the
The
applesauce
squeeze and
packets of
goes, yeah.
Squeeze, yeah, and so we'll do that when we're on the go, but for the most part, I've made almost all the baby food that they eat.
Yeah, and I love that, like, to me, that's it's funny because if you look at the baby food, like, I think they put a bunch of sugar and additives and preservatives in there, and you're like, "They don't need this. They can just
Yeah.
eat what we're eating, let's just cut it up in small doses," and it's funny because it's this great market that Gerber and whoever else has created it, where you have this thought of, like, "My baby has to eat mushy food." Well, guess what? You could probably just get a food processor or a blender and blend it up if it needs to be mushy. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you can do this yourself without any of the preservatives and the added sugar, like, you really can just do it yourself, and your kids, they eat a ton of food, it's crazy how
Oh
much
my
food they
gosh,
eat.
it's ridiculous. But, yeah, I would say too that, like, for moms and, families that do buy baby food, it's also not the end of the world. Like,
No, yeah.
whatever your baby needs to eat is good. So that's I don't know, because I remember with Eliza, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need it it needs to be like this, and this for the food." And at the end of the day, there's times where I'm like, "I'm way too exhausted. I don't have the energy to make it like this." And so I'm gonna buy whatever, little processed food packets or whatever for them. It's like, who even cares? But for the most part, I do try to do
Well,
it all at home.
and I amen to all that, and what I would say is, again, pay attention to the coordination between the food that's taken in and the resultant behavior. And I mean, you sent
Yeah,
me and mom that post talking about ADHD, how there's a group of kids that had ADHD, diagnosed ADHD, and they removed all preserved foods from their diet. So they only had natural
yeah.
foods. And there was at least 50% no longer had ADHD, and those that had the severest cases had a decrease in that behavior. Like I know, like our son Jonathan, if he gets red dye, it's crap for him. Like, it's funny because red dye is in a lot of things. It's in a lot of sodas and things like that. When he drinks red dye, it's almost inevitable he will throw up. Like, it's going to
Yep.
happen. He's gonna have crappy sleep. His behavior is gonna be he's gonna be irritated and annoyed. And so that's what I would say is like, if you're giving your kid something and then all of a sudden you're noticing a crash in behavior, well, maybe that food needs to be avoided.
That and then also I noticed too with both of my babies, whenever they had, sweets, like fruits, just fruits, they would have, rashes pop up on their skins, and it's not necessarily that they're allergic to, like strawberries or whatever, but they're sensitive to the sugars in the fruits, and so even if it's not like a processed sugary something, they're still being affected by it, which is just crazy. It's so frustrating sometimes because there's people who are not affected by that type of stuff like we are, but we're very, very sensitive to our foods. So
Yeah. You know, as we're talking, I'm gonna change topics a little bit. So I know you're kind of talking about like parenting regrets.
mhm,
And look, I grew up being spanked. Like that was a common behavioral or parental behavior technique, right?
mhm.
And so because of that, I utilized spanking with you and Addison and David a lot. Jonathan and Ralph not as much, but they did get spankings. Um, I think if I was to look at like what I regret is ever spanking in anger, because I definitely know there was times where I was the problem and I spanked a kid. Now, look, I never bruised and abused anything like that.
Yeah,
But there were times, and I don't remember if it was you or Aubrey. I know I definitely did it with Jonathan Ralph, where I said, "Hey," like I sat down cool and calm, and I'm like, "This was the rule, and this is the punishment." I'm like, "So you're gonna get 10 spankings." And so this sucks and I don't wanna do this, but this is the rule. And so this is what you're gonna get. And when I did it in a cool, calm manner, it was much better than like when I'm doing it in rage and I'm grabbing your arm, I'm spanking you as I'm heading you upstairs or whatever. Like, and so
yeah,
if there's that rage moment, just know it's probably you that has the problem, not the kid.
yeah, that's for Eliza, we'll do, like, a little flick on her cheek, and there are times where it's like she does something naughty, okay, now I'm mad and here's a flick. But other times what I it's the same it's like the same thing where it's like if when you take a break and you go in with a calm mind and you're like, okay, you threw all of your food onto the floor and you know that's naughty. So this is, the punishment. And then it makes me feel so much better. I'm not like guilty of like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm terrorizing my child but otherwise now it's okay, this is the rule and because you broke the rule, now this is the way that you're going to be disciplined and she already knows that it's coming instead of me like freaking out in the moment panicking of like okay, I'm so mad, rage, like I only see red, and then I flicker, but yeah, it's it's hard to be calm sometimes, and it's hard and too like, me and Brandon were talking the other day, sometimes it's hard to just know that you're angry and then, like, when you know you're angry and you know you need to take a break, but you're so frustrated that you don't even want to, it's like, how you need to like, be I don't even know I can't even think of the word that and you need to internalize it and step away and take a break, but even when you are mad, and it's hard to do
Yeah.
that. It's hard to say, "Okay, I know I'm in the wrong for
Yeah.
being this angry about this." That's so hard.
It's almost like you need a code word, right? Of like that way, if
Yeah.
Brandon's upset, you say Brandon like, "Hey, hot potato" or whatever, and like he just knows that,
Yeah.
okay, I'm being irrational. But even then, like to your point, like there's some times where you could go code word, and it's like, "What? It's
I
not
don't
me.
even
It's
care. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah, that
and
happens so many times.
and it's like you never tell a woman to calm down, right? It's like nothing
Yeah.
good's going to come out of that. But but it's also it's like some like I probably talked about this already, but like especially when you guys were teens, like you and Aubrey would get into it with mom, and I would like literally step in between, and I would say, "You're going upstairs right now, and you're just going to breathe, and you're just going to take a timeout." and then I would sit down with you or Aubrey, and I'd be like, "Yeah, she's crazy right now, but so are you." And I would, like, try
Yeah.
to calm down the situation. And it's funny because Renee's done the same thing with me where with the boys, both our testosterones are raging and we're, like, peacocking of, like, "I'm the alpha here."
Yeah.
And Renee's, like, steps in between, she starts rubbing my chest, and she's like, "You're gonna go upstairs, you need to calm down." I'm like, "I'm not calming down, I'm gonna calm him down." She's like,
Yeah.
"Go upstairs." She's like, "Go upstairs now."
Yeah.
She kinda has to get in my face because in that moment like that, I mean, testosterone's a real thing, right? And it can cause a lot of rage there. And especially when I feel like I'm being challenged by a cub in my house, like, get out of here.
Yep.
But that's, I mean, as a spouse, and I know there's a question later on that we'll talk about the single parenting, but as a as your partner, as your spouse, you have to be like, because sometimes I'll come home, Renee's mad, and I'm just like, she's mad, I'm gonna be even more mad. But I need you to say, like, hey babe, what's going on? What can I do to help? And let me help calm the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard dynamic to, like, figure out sometimes. I feel like every single week, me and Brandon try to do a marriage meeting once a week where we can go through and it's like a safe space to tell each other, "Okay, this is something you didn't do great this week. You need to work on this." But it's like you know, it's positive criticism, but
Yeah.
it's hard to I feel like often we're in a phase where we're like, "Okay, let's talk about how we disciplined the kids this week." And it's very hard. But okay, so I mean, we've talked a lot about the negative stuff, and that's okay. But what's something that you did really well while parenting?
So I am so proud of the fact that I was able to coach every single one of you kids in a different sport in a different way. That I'm just grateful. I don't know how I ranked as coaches for you. Like I had coached you in volleyball and in soccer, and I
Yeah.
coach it. I coached Jonathan in soccer. I coached Ralph in volleyball, and I coached David in t-ball. I did flag football for him. Aubrey
Mhm.
volleyball and soccer too. And but, like, that was for me so fun to spend time with you guys in that fashion. Um, I'm proud that we go on family vacations every year, that we
Mhm.
like, our family vacations aren't anything grand, like, I've never taken the family to Europe, but, like, we can do the heck out of a beach trip, and I mean, and
Heck yeah.
if budget's tight, like, let's do a day like, do a day trip, like, leave that morning, come back that night. Yes, it is exhausting, but, like, we've been able to create a lot of fun memories at Disneyland, at the beach, going to Brian Head, like going camping and doing different things like that. Um, I think I've done a good job of making us have fun with certain things and creating traditions. I mean, we had we with the Olympics that just passed, a while back. Um, we had that summer, like I think there was a month I was like, no screens unless we're as a family
Yep.
or the Olympics. So the only
Mm.
things you could watch was the Olympics, a movie if we were together as a family that night, nothing else. And you guys fell in love with the Olympics because of it.
We loved it. That's so funny. I feel like I mean, I will add to your list too. I feel like you guys have done a really good job of teaching, like, helping us be a strong, like, family community. I feel like even now we're all still close and we always are texting in our family group chat, and I think that that sometimes is things that you don't really see in other families. I really like that, and then also on top of that, you guys have done a really good job of like, we were talking earlier about the social media, like, setting boundaries on social media and on your phones. I think that that's super important. That's helped me a lot now as I'm
Yeah,
an adult.
yeah, and even like playing games together as a family, that I
Yeah,
mean, how much fun is that? Like it's a Sunday
it's
night or
so
whatever,
fun.
or it's summer
Mhm.
night. Like she was in town last week and she just really wanted to play nerds. And I'll tell you, playing nerds with two people is not as much fun as it is playing it with like four or five or six people.
I know,
Um,
I've been craving some nerds.
well, I was telling Aubrey, I'm like, hey, let's just enjoy this game because Addison's not here to kick our butts. So
This
um
is true.
but it's like we were just at Grandma Joyce's house, right? And we just played games real quick before we left, and it's just fun to like the conversations that go on as you're playing Scrabble, as you're playing Quiddler, as you're playing. Clue, whatever game, like the game of
Mhm.
life, which actually isn't that fun of a game, but somehow we think it's fun because there's those little cars with pegs in it. Um,
Yes. They're so cute.
but it's just fun to be together as a family and to have that bonding time. And if screens, whether it's a TV or your phone, dominate your life, and look, we're guilty. Like Renee and I, we just need our downtime sometimes. Me more than her, but like I have to be conscientious. Like the phone's going away. Hey guys, let's go do something together. Let's just go outside and go on a walk. Let's go. Let's just have a talk.
To the
Whatever it is.
bowling alley.
Yeah, let's go bowling.
Let's go bowling. Okay, and then so what's the one thing social media gets wrong about parenting? I feel like we kind of already talked about this. I think a lot of it is that there's only one right way to do something, but I think that there's a lot of right ways to do a lot of things. I don't know
Yeah,
if you have anything else to kind of add on to that, but
I think your algorithm's different than mine because I don't get a lot of parenting
yeah,
techniques on on any of my social
I got a
media
lot.
feeds. Yeah, so I think we have different algorithms. Mine are like a lot of like gym fails.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this again because like it's so true. You're not gonna know what you're doing is working until years down the line. But where I would say is doing something and trying to be better is always gonna be better than just giving up and not doing anything. And so your kids are 2 and 1. I don't know, I don't think those conversations go very in depth, but in 2 years from now when they're 4 and 3, you're gonna be able to have fun and funny conversations, and it's important that you talk to your kid, that when your kid comes by, that you're not just like the screenager. Like, I remember, like, my mom, she was always this, like, political activist. She was a campaign manager, she was on the PTA, she was doing all this stuff.
Mhm.
She was on the phone, it felt like she was on the phone all the time, and she was doing good things, and she was a great mom, so I don't wanna, like, disparage her in any way, shape, or form, but I remember, like, a lot of times, like, we had questions like, "Mom, mom, mom," she's like, "Can't you see I'm on the phone?" We're like, "Yeah, you're always on the phone, lady,"
Yeah.
and and she was at least on the phone doing something good. Most of the time, we're on the phone just absolutely brain rotting, and so I would, if you're gonna have your doom scroll, I'd be like, "Hey, doom scroll when the kids are down for nap times or when they're in bed at night.
Uh-huh.
Don't ever, as much as you can, avoid the doom scroll anytime around your kids because that's gonna then be learned behavior of like, oh, when I get a phone, all I do is ignore my family and friends around me, and I just pay attention to this rectangle." And, it's just funny how we love rectangles in our society immensely.
Yep. I also too like getting out and making sure you're communicating with your kids. So usually when I go out, I'll go out on a walk. I try to go out on a walk every single day, but when I'm out on my walk, I'll have my headphones on and I'll be listening to a book. But the other day, I accidentally left my headphones at home, and so I had no way to listen to a book, and that's totally fine. But I was going on my walk, and we were outside for like it was long. We had walked to the park, and so we were outside, played at the park, and then walked back, but the walk there and back was about 40 minutes to the park,
Oh,
and
wow.
so we were outside for quite a long time, but while we were walking, Eliza s w me and Eliza were just sitting there talking the whole entire time, and it was so cute because there's so many things that she started to realize and notice, and then I learned that, we could learn our colors by looking at all of the different doors in our neighborhood because every single door is like a different color. And so it was so fun because we were walking down the street and I was like, what color is this door? And like it was a learning opportunity at that point because I like didn't have my headphones and I took the time to sit there and like actually have a normal conversation with her almost. And it was just really fun being able to learn and play with her while we were on the walk. She's getting smart with her colors.
See, and what I love about that, like, so, I'm a Tesla fan, and, like, there's the Tesla taxi that's coming out sometime soon, and I could seriously see me buying a Tesla taxi. And especially if you're like a parent of young kids, like a Tesla taxi could be so huge because you're like, my kid needs to go to basketball and this other kid needs to go to soccer and I have to be at this place. And so you can have the taxi like use your kid's ID. It knows who's getting in and out of that car, safely pick them up from school, take them to whatever activity,
That's
drop off.
crazy.
But I think like, wow, how convenient and how amazing is that going to be to have that tool? But then I also think of, like, the best conversations I have with Ralph are when I pick him up from basketball practice and we just talk on the way home. And so part of me is like, I can have this convenience that can simplify my life and add my to my capabilities, but what does it take away? And so I think of it too, like, if I just get, like, microwaved meals and I'm not cooking with my kids, what does that take away? Or, go back old school, like, when you had to go down and, like, wash your clothes by hand, and so you're
Yeah.
hanging clothes up on the clothesline, so you're having conversations as you're doing it. What do you lose when you have the conveniences of the washer and dryer? So it's
Yeah.
interesting to think about that.
I can't remember if I saw this on Instagram or somebody told me, but I saw something or heard something that it said when the deepest conversations that they've had with their kids is when they were doing like, going back and forth between home and sporting activities or, whatever
Yeah.
activities. And it's just I feel like I remember ever having, like, some conversations with you guys. It was always when you're, like, exhausted after a hard game and you're like, "Oh, well, let's just talk about this," you know? It's
Yeah.
just that's when the truth comes out and it's like the one-on-one solo time that you get with your parents, especially when I mean, I have 4 other siblings, and so you don't get a ton of one-on-one time with parents, but usually when you're in the car driving between practices, you do, but I just yeah, those are some good times for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I know that it was requested for us to talk more about solo parenting and whether that's, um, like being a mom, staying at home all the time, with your kids and your husband's working a lot, or, being a mom who doesn't have a partner. I think both of those are hard situations, and I think one of the biggest things is I mean, Brandon obviously is home, and he's sitting right next to me right now, actually, and he's a very active parent, but there's times where it is hard because he's gone at school and at work, and, we don't get to see him a lot, and I think that the biggest thing that's helped me in those moments is having other moms or not even necessarily moms, but, like, friends near me that I know can help me or, um, be a support system to me that's not necessarily just Brandon, because
Yeah.
my next door neighbor, there's been so many times where I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm really having a hard time with the babies today. You wanna come over and we can, kinda tag team this
Yeah.
situation?" And she's come over many times helping me lay the babies down, and I think that that's, for me, been one of the biggest helps is having your close neighbors and just being there to create that community with you and helping you because it's hard to do it by yourself.
Yeah, and what I would say is, like, to that single parent, like, I don't think there's not much harder in this life than trying to raise a family on your own, and because I just think of the times where, like, mom would be at girls' camp for a week, and so I'm in charge, like, I seriously remember she was at girls' camp one time or no, she was gone, she went to her grandma's funeral, and so she was gonna be gone for a Sunday, so it's like, I had to do your girl's hair for
I
Sunday.
remember this.
And I was, like, so terrified of, "How am I gonna do your hair?" And, because you
I feel
girls
like
were
you brought the hair bag to church.
I think I went to our
I
like
remember
yeah, I think we went to the Buns house because they lived across the street.
yeah,
I think I, like, parted your hair somewhere in the middle, did some clips, and I'm like and she's like, "This is good enough, Josh." I was like, obviously, I didn't know how to braid hair, I still don't.
yeah.
I mean, you're probably, like, 6 years old or something like that. But, and so, like, my taste of, like, what's it like to be a single parent is very limited, but I can tell you it is freaking exhausting because the break that you want is non-existent. I mean, it's just
Mhm,
if you're a single parent, just expect until they're about 18, you're not gonna get a break because if they're little, you got to wake up and do everything, then you got to go to work, and then when you come home, everything starts over again, and you literally
mhm,
just have to say, "I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break from fulfilling whatever I want because I have to take care of these kids' needs." But I would say that what you said was hugely important. That's where I mean, the yin and the yang of like a mother and a father is so important and even involving other adults in your life, whether it's a father or a significant other, whatever. I mean, involving aunts, uncles, grandparents, community friends, whether it's a neighbor, church friend, school friend, like the parents that exist in that realm
Mhm.
is so important, and to ask for help is huge. Like, one of the best ways that guys bond together is being asked, "Hey, can you help me out?" Like, we're like, "Yeah, I'll go fix your problem of that's called a
Yeah.
bookcase or hanging a
Yeah.
ceiling fan or whatever." But, like, there was I can't remember who it was. It was like Thomas Jefferson or one of these, like, original founding fathers. Like, when a new politician was elected, he would often go and ask that individual for a favor. And people thought, "Oh, that's weird. Why is he asking me for a favor?" But the reason he did that is because it then opened him up to be asked in return for a favor as well. And so asking for help sometimes can be a way to form relationships and to help get different perspectives and genuinely to get help. That's the help that you need. And um,
Yeah.
one last thought on this. Like, last week, Jonathan and Ralph, they were at the church camp for the young men. And one of the dads like, "Oh, you didn't go?" And I said, "No, they didn't ask me to go," which is fine. And I said, "Honestly, I don't want to go." And he goes, "Why not?" And I said, "Because my boys get enough of me at home. I want them to hear the voices of other men teaching them similar principles." Because there's been a number of times where, like, Dave would be like, "Oh, well, so and so was saying XYZ." And it just really hit home. And Renee and I, like, literally looked at each other like, this is the same crap we've been telling him for years. And it's like,
Yeah.
but somehow it
Yeah.
comes out of his friend's dad's mouth, and it's like the best thing ever. Whereas it's out my mouth, it's stupid. So use the community to raise your children.
Yeah, I think that I wouldn't say it's necessarily a pandemic, but I feel like that we are as a community have a really hard time asking each other for help. And I know that there's a lot of times where there's ladies in my church where I'm like, I want to help you and I know that you probably need help, but I don't know how to help you. Like I can bring you a meal. I don't know if that's the best way to help you. And so I always tell these moms that I know from church, I'm like, I want you to come to me and tell me, like, I'm asking you to ask me for help. And, there somebody else today at church actually was saying, she's like, "When you don't ask me for help, you're taking my opportunity,
Yeah.
to, like, be blessed from by my of by my service," like, or something like that. Like, I want to be blessed for serving you, and if you don't ask me for help, you're taking my blessings away. So,
Yeah.
I just think that like we need to just ask for help, and everybody has problems. Everybody has things that they're struggling with, and if we are vulnerable with each other, then we can help each other. And I think that's the hardest part is we don't want people to think that we have all these problems, but everybody has problems. So,
Yep. Yes, we do. We all have problems. Everybody other than me has problems.
yeah, I mean, you want to talk about your problem from Friday night or
That's more for the other podcast, but yeah, for those of you who don't listen to that, I was playing tennis and I ran full speed into a pole. So I'm having some knee problems and some neck problems because of that. So yeah,
quite a hilarious story.
I mean the video of it. I mean you can't see it really. Just all of a sudden you see a
But you
guy
can
running
hear it.
and you hear just ding, like yeah,
Yep.
that fence owned me.
Oh, that sucks so much. Okay, and then I guess to kind of top it off, I don't know if you have any thoughts about this, but, um, in regards to new parents, what do you think the biggest lie that new parents believe is?
I don't know. I mean, again, our algorithms are different, so you get a lot of this like new parental advice. You're in a
Yeah.
different world than I am. I think like we saw that one that says like if you don't teach your kid like discipline by the time they're 2 years old, then basically their
Yeah.
life is over. And I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know. But I feel like what so if you didn't teach Eliza discipline in the next few months, like you just quit, like that's the dumbest thing
Yeah.
ever. And so I think you always keep trying, you keep loving, you keep praying, you keep trying to find what's gonna work for them. So just never give up,
Yeah.
I guess is my advice.
I agree, and I think along with that too, that we just need to, like, just be there for each other in the community. We're not doing it all on our own. Like, you're even if you're a new mom and you're completely exhausted and tired, that's okay. Like, you're not supposed to have all the answers. You're not supposed to be able to be perfect at everything, and it's okay to be tired and need help.
Yeah,
So,
and to add on that, like, you're not perfect. I mean, you are, but, like, our listeners, they're not perfect. So
yeah,
why would
no.
you expect your why would yeah, why would you expect your kid to be perfect? And I think that's part of it
Yeah,
too, is you think like, "Oh, my kid is doing this stuff, I'm a terrible person." Like, I mean, maybe you are a terrible person. I'm not gonna make that judgment or not, but, like, your kid's going to make mistakes. That's what they're learning from. Like, if your kid's learning to walk and they fall, you're not like, "Oh, this is the dumbest kid ever. They can't even walk. They
yeah,
fall down." It's like they're like, I it was
that's what
interesting,
it
like,
is, yeah.
what was it, Eliza, when we were beach camping, like, she was freaking out on something, screaming, you're like, "Eliza, use your words." She goes, "Hungry." And we're like, "Okay, you're hungry. Tell us you're hungry." And so we got her some food, and it's like, so she doesn't know how to communicate, "I'm hungry," so she's freaking out. And so you could be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the worst parent ever because my daughter doesn't know how to say I'm hungry," but it's okay. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, she's learning, you're learning, and the worst part is you're learning together, and the consequences are pretty huge.
Yep, literally. I guess to end this off, maybe we can share some joys of the week real quick. Do you have any joys that you'd like to share?
Um,
It's been 2 weeks, so you gotta have
it's
some joys,
No,
dad.
so, like, this is coming from what the theme of this podcast is. The joy of the week that we had was, so this past week, Renee and I had the house to ourselves for a few days, and it was wonderful. It was so nice. I mean, like, we didn't have to worry, "Are the boys coming home?" We didn't have to worry, like,
Yeah,
we kinda came home, like, we had leftovers together, we hung out. I mean, it was so much fun, and so a complete different, like, maybe joy than what
yeah,
you'd expected, but, like, I love you, I love all of our kids, I'm gonna miss them when Jonathan and Ralph are gone. Like, it's gonna be weird when, like, every day is like what that was for a
yeah.
few days, and so sometimes being different is a little better than just the always, but, that was my joy, was, kinda having some alone time.
I love it. For me, we went beach camping. Well, we went beach glamping.
Yes, you did.
Um, but but it was so much fun. I just love doing new things with the babies and, like, watching them fall in love with it like I do. Like, I love going to the beach. It is so much fun, and a few days after we went to the beach, Eliza was throwing some major tantrum about who knows what, and I was like, "Eliza, what do you need?" And she's like, "I wanna go bye-bye." I was like, "Where do you wanna go bye-bye?" And she said, "I wanna go to the beach." I was like, "I
Yes.
wanna go to the beach too, I love the beach, but we can't go to the beach because it's 10 hours away from us." And but
Yeah.
it's just I just love that she loved it, and Joshy, he ate so much sand, and it was crazy, and it was just so fun, like, being it's so fun doing it's so hard and exhausting, but so rewarding having that fun time together as a family. And then another cute thing was Joshy learned how to give kisses, and so he wakes up in the morning, and he always has his pacifier, and so he takes it out and, like, throws it onto the floor, and he goes like these big, like he doesn't really understand how to, like, purse his lips
Yeah,
yet, and so he's just, like, smacking his lips around, trying to make little kissy noises, and it's so stinking cute. So,
I
those are my
love it.
2 joys. But
Yeah, next
yeah,
time you guys are beach camping, not glamping, you're camping with us next time.
I'm ready for it. They're
The the
gonna do
part that's
good.
the part that's crazy is, like, the moment your kids show up, it's like instantaneously, "I'm dirty." Like,
Oh,
they're just
it's the
like,
worst.
we just have to bring more tarps and covers so there's, like, less sand for them to get into.
It was the worst. That and then they kept throwing their water bottles onto the
I
floor. It was like every 5 minutes we had to clean those things off.
know, it was crazy.
Yeah. But anywho, well, anything else you'd like to add before we end this sode?
No, it's been a great
Yes.
one. It's a long one, so sorry to our listeners. I
Yeah.
mean, we're a lot longer than we normally are, but I hopefully you get something out of this.
Yeah, well, we hope you guys have a good week, and we'll chat with you next week, hopefully.
Yeah.
Jeez, 2 weeks behind. See ya.